What's up, my friends? And how's it going tonight? Sometimes I just have a camera sitting out here and I start it randomly while I have a thought. And that's this particular video. And this is the philosophy of connection or of love. I had some interesting thoughts about this. I was just talking to a friend, my buddy Scully. He's my best friend. He's one of the few people I trust in this world completely. And we got to talking about relationships. And I called him out on him being, saying he didn't want any responsibility, and this came from me telling him you should get a dog. Now, that's a huge responsibility, but I thought it would be good for him because he doesn't have kids or, any particular obligations, and I thought that maybe that would be a useful thing. Now, of course, that's just my opinion, and maybe it's not good for him, it's just my opinion. But it got me thinking about love and loss and how important it is. This is something I've considered often. This started today when I went on Craigslist here and started looking for a dog. And when I specifically start seeking out a dog, then, that tells me something about myself and my interests. I lost my best friend, not my wife. My wife is my true best friend, but my best animal friend, and it's different. We all know that. Juno was my Akita Norwegian elk hound mix, and he passed away last, I don't know. I don't keep track of deaths, but it was last year sometime. And we buried him, and I've kind of mourned it and moved on, but at the same time, I realized that I'm reluctant to get a new dog. There's not just the issue of loss, but there's the issue of responsibility. It's the same reason people don't want to have children. It's not that they don't want their kids to die, it's that they don't want their kids to live. In other words, they don't want to have to feed their kids. And it's not that simple, of course, but in the sense that a lot of people just want to live their lives, have fun, and do their thing, and not have to be responsible for other parties. And that I understand. But all of us know that having responsibility builds character. Now, what we choose to have as responsibility is up to the individual. We live in a day and age where we don't have to have kids. We, don't have farms like we used to, where we need kids to work and go collect firewood. Times have changed, and because of that, people can choose to live their whole lives single. But I feel like having something or someone that you are responsible for builds a lot of character. And I can only go by my experience. I have a 25-year-old son, or 24, and a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And they are all very unique individuals. They all have their own personality. And I don't try to interfere with their, who they become. But I just try to kind of guide them in the right direction. Now, if I were to lose one of my kids, I can't imagine the pain. And for a lot of people, that alone is reason enough to not want to have kids. Don't want to worry, whether they have a disease or some kind of unknown issue, autism. We have a kid at my son's school, my kid's school. There's a family there that has, a few kids that go to the school, but one of them is an autistic girl, and she wears earmuffs all the time. And I'm not sure of her specific level of autism, whatever. It's an ASD, I believe, autism spectrum disorder. But I don't know where she is on that. But the point is that her dad is a really nice guy. We talk all the time when I see him. And he's, 420 friendly, toker dude. Cool guy. It'd probably be fun to hang out with. But with this autistic daughter, you can see just the love in his eyes to be responsible for that. I can't imagine that. My kids are independent enough to be able to play outside. that is something to be grateful for. It's the chance we take if we have children. With a dog, with a pet, it's totally different than having a kid, of course. But it's the same type of responsibility. And I'm not talking about a cat, because my buddy said, oh, I've had cats. And I said, no, that's not the same. Cats are independent. Cats tell you what the fuck they want. Dogs ask you, what the fuck should I want? And that's something you should have to be aware. You should be looking your dog in the eyes and saying, man, I want to understand this animal. That scares a lot of people off. Dogs are smart. And so are cats, of course. But dogs rely on humans because of our symbiotic connection. Over the past, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 years or more, we've had dogs at our disposal working for us. But now we kind of work together, all of us. And it's not for the mutual benefit of us getting our food and them getting fed, but rather just having companionship, simple companionship in a pet, in an animal. And, there's some people who are extremely opposed to having pets of any kind, but those are the people that don't understand the benefit of a connection between man and animal. We weren't meant to just be separated, we connect in any way we can. But anyhow, that's a different story altogether. I just wanted to kind of put this out there. I tend to get off track and talk about other things, but I think that having responsibility in our lives builds character to the point where even with the loss, even with the downfall, the downside of the arguments and the problems, this is with human relationships. With animals, it's more like training, picking up their shit off your floor and their piss. All these things are testing. And you think that's an annoyance. But at the same time, when you look back in retrospect, you say, going through that taught me some patience. And patience is more than a virtue. Patience is everything. Because life is really about patience. And I've learned that. And I'm learning that. And I have none. So therefore, my one negative trait is that I have no patience. I'm always looking for what my friends and I would call the next best thing. And that's like, oh, what's next? What's next? I'm not looking for the latest gadget or buying the latest trends or the latest news, but I am into something new, some sort of novelty for myself, and that can be anything. It can be a trip to the park, a trip to the store, whatever it might be. So having somebody who depends on you kind of breaks up that monotony of selfishness, which we all have. Says that I just need to survive, pay for my own stuff, deal with my own problems. Life's too complicated. And then all of a sudden we have something depending on us, whether it be a creature or a kid. And it builds character, however you look at it. I've seen so many mothers and fathers who have just been utterly changed by having kids. And then there are other people who can't have children or don't want to have children or just haven't met the right person. And they say, well, I don't want to have kids, or screw it, it's too late, or not worth it, whatever the excuse may be. There's nothing wrong with that. But for those people, I would urge you to at least consider having a dog sometime in your life. To realize having to be home, having to deal with an animal, having to bring them with you or figure out where to leave them. As much as that may seem like a nuisance sometimes. If it was really just a nuisance, people wouldn't have pets at all. If you've never had a pet and you think that it's just a pain in the ass, then you're ignoring thousands of years of connection between man and animal. And like for me, I'm a mutt kind of guy. When I go to get a dog, it's not going to be a dog that I found because it's some beautiful purebred. I don't believe in purebreds. I think purebreds and the whole AKC thing and kennel clubs, dog shows, to me, That's all I can say. Fuck those things. It's disgusting to me what they do to animals. Even though they know that some of these breeding programs can actually damage their, or damage their joints, cause them more problems. They said that if I think it was bulldogs, English bulldogs, if they just crossbred them once with another dog breed, they could eliminate a bunch of the nasal problems. But no, they have to be purebred. So sorry to go off on a tangent, but purebred dogs are complete bullshit. They have all kinds of problems, hip dysplasia, cancer. Golden retrievers, they used to live to be 15 to 18 years old. I guess now they live to be 8 to 11 years old. They've lost a third of their life. So that's pretty messed up to me. But I'm going to go online here. I have this I was on Craigslist earlier, and I was looking for a dog. And I wanted to show you a picture of the dog that I found. But I don't think I'll be able to probably locate it in time. But my dog was an Akita, and he was a beautiful dog. I mean, so here's one that I found, rehoming with a small adoption fee. This dog's a Husky Akita mix, but there was no picture. So I was looking at a couple of other ones, and I found this one called Kita. Of course, kind of. But I guess it doesn't matter. I'm not going to sit here and try to find them. If I get a dog, obviously it'll be on my video. So for those who remember Juno, my big white fluffy dog that used to run around in the back of my videos, he was an amazing creature. And I saw a picture of him howling earlier on the picture frame. And that's what really inspired me to make this video and to go on Craigslist looking for a dog. I'll probably be going to the Humane Society. When I'm determined to do something, I tend to just kind of get really into something. And I've been putting off the dog issue because of that. So anyhow, that's my thought. I think responsibility is important, and our connection to each other is important, but having an animal can kind of fulfill that, can give you a different angle. I don't know. Let me know what you think. If you've had a dog, you'd understand. They're amazing. Be well. Peace and love. And like I said, I'll see you when I get back from spring break stuff with the family.